Good evening, boys and ghouls. So this time we're going to talk about a slightly interesting crime horror mystery film called Room for Rent, which stars the infamous and fabulous Lin Shaye and Oliver Rayan and Vashka Miller. As I pronounce the names wrong, sue me.
Valeska Miller.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
By the way, my name is Paul Doski, and I'm joined by,
Tessa Baker.
and we're here to talk about Room for Rent, which you already heard. So anyway, let's get right down to it. This was directed by Tommy Stovall.
And written by Stuart Flack.
Now, what's the synopsis?
A lonely widow, Joyce, rents out a room in her house and becomes dangerously obsessed with one of her guests.
And ain't that the truth? Because look out and do not rent from this lady.
Yeah,
Nope.
especially if you're a male.
Yeah, and that's
She's got
you
a
know, like all capitalized, which especially. So yeah. Now,
she's got a thing for younger males.
oh yes. So basically, the idea of this is we see this poor widow just struggling with money, and she eventually looks at this magazine that basically sets her to rent out a room in her house because that is the only way she's going to be able to pay the bills, basically, or the bankers, I may say, because her husband has passed, obviously, for thanks to the plot. But anyway, so there really even wasn't that much money left after he had passed. So why is that? Hmm. Let's continue talking to find out. So Tessa, what can you say about after her starting this new job? I'm just gonna say now.
Air bed and breakfast.
Yes. What really kind of takes place afterward when she really tries to get it going first time?
Well, the first time she really tries to get it going, she opens up her home to a couple, and she befriends
Sarah.
Sarah. And Sarah has a douchebag for a boyfriend named Edward. And he's all like, oh, we should have stayed in a hotel, we shouldn't be staying here, this place looks like garbage, blah blah blah. He's like all negative and shit, and Sarah's just like, I don't know, it seems kind of nice and, homey and this and that, trying to be positive and shit. And so this guy gets even more pissed off at the fact that there's no TV in their room, and ends up taking off. And Sarah and Joyce are left to talk. And they talk about things. They talk about Sarah and Edward's relationship. They talk about Joyce. They talk about a little bit about Joyce's husband, things like that, why she chose to open up her home. And the two kind of sort of become close. And then the next day, Joyce and Sarah are having breakfast and everything, and the douchey boyfriend's like, okay, we're leaving. Pack your stuff, we're leaving, like right now. I'm not staying here. And completely rude and obnoxious about it. And Sarah proceeds to try to apologize for this douchebag, which personally I could have thought of 100 different ways to get rid of this guy. Anyways, so Sarah says, okay, we'll keep in touch, I'll write you, we'll keep in contact. And her and the douche leave. So Joyce is back to being alone again. And only has like people come and go and not really anybody solid. And then she goes to, I think, the library,
Yeah,
and
it's like a library or some sort of like um welcome center, we'll just say, or something. And I want to say library though. I want
yeah,
to say that's what
yeah,
it
because
was because she loved to read because she was reading.
yeah, she rented like she took out this romance novel that she had read before. She had rented out before, and she went and she rented it out again because it was one of her favorites. So anyway, she runs into
Bob.
Bob, and Bob looks like something out of one of her romance novels. Tall, dark, and handsome, as she put him.
Yeah.
So
So
he,
Bob, watch
yeah.
out.
So what was Bob doing when Joyce found him at the library? What was he doing?
Just basically, looking at the board to try to figure out a place to rent. And Joyce Joyce made that very interesting comment about how like, oh, you don't want to go there. It's booked up or something like that. Like basically,
It's full. You don't want to go there, and I've heard some negative things about this place. I have
yeah,
a room that you can rent. Why don't you come and stay with me?
dun dun dun. So basically, this is where you really start to see some different changes happening throughout Joyce's house. We get this big ass TV, all because Bob is a big fan of sports. So she wanted to make sure that he had the cable, a nice TV, and even beverages while watching his games. And not just that, but as we're going along with this story, the narration between her reading the books and her fantasizing of, well, her and Bob basically, she been even writing to Sarah, or yeah, writing to Sarah, basically just fantasizing of her way of saying like, "Oh, it's all good here. I have a nice person that is renting the room and this and that." And then like, eventually Bob sticks up for Joyce because of the other a-hole kids in the neighborhood. Does that sound familiar? Hmm. Maybe go back to the last episode and you'll see what I'm talking about. Poor Lin Shaye. What is up with these weird characters that she portrayed? Where it's
She
just
deals with
oh
assholes.
yeah, and everything. But in this case, she just does not commit suicide though. In this one, like she did in the last one. But anyway, if you want to check that out, check out the last episode. Anyway, so as this is going on, Bob is like, "What the hell?" And he's, goes outside, says, "What's your problem? Why are you doing this to this poor nice lady's house?" For basically throwing eggs, and then he clocks one of them in the face, which good for Bob on that point because I wouldn't stand that shit anyway. And I
Yeah,
want to
he
say
essentially beats the shit out of the one guy that tried to
Wayne. I want
assault
to say,
her. Yeah,
yeah,
that tried to assault Joyce.
yes, and it's just interesting that this is where it came to be, I guess, is that this is all it is really. So, but yeah, once again, we kind of picked on that one Shade's character, why is bullied a lot from kids, if not by other type of adults. But the point to this is that this basically triggers Joyce to fall head over heels because now she's got this strong protective man in her um house. and
She
and
swoons.
yeah, and you can just totally see what she tried to do with getting all makeup ready and like
She gets all
fashionable.
Yeah, she gets all gussied up for this guy. We're talking like dressing like she would if she were like a younger woman or a teenager or something. We're
Getting
talking
ready to
like
ride,
high heels, a skirt, stuff like that.
like somebody that would be getting ready to take a ride on a motorcycle with their boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
However, though, that doesn't really work out so well, does it, babe?
No, he kind of says, "Oh, I wouldn't want to, you know, mess up your pretty outfit or your pretty makeup or this or that. And wouldn't it be better for you to, you know, walk to the library or something?" You know, he would try to
Dismiss,
uh,
I would say.
dismiss or evade her advances.
Yes. But I'm wondering if he knew what she was doing, even though he was quite nice with her as well until it gets later on. But still, I'm still wondering if he was catching on that she was coming in too close.
I would say yes, in a way, because he probably noticed how her appearance was changing and how, like, extra nice she was trying to be for him and
Yeah,
going,
oh,
like, above and beyond, to try to make him happy and stuff like that. So I think in his own mind, he was probably putting two and two together, like, oh, this old lady is, sweet on me.
well, that's understand. She just lost her husband, and she's a widow. So probably been a long time since she's wooed somebody. I guess. I yeah. Anyway, to continue on, so basically, yes, we see all these improvements going on, and Lin Shaye's character Joyce is just trying to just like win him over to basically be like, just be with me kind of thing. Whether and that's even by trying to get him another beverage so he doesn't have to get up and not watch his game. She even asked, which I thought this was interesting, that she even asked if it was okay with Bob if she watched the sports with her. It's like, this is your house, so I mean, wouldn't you just already be allowed? But then again, you're renting it out, so I guess that has some factors in it as well.
Yes. So this is where things get a little bit more creepier. Joyce has asked Bob to have dinner with her.
Mm.
so so he agrees,
Oh, poor
and
Bob.
yes, poor Bob. So they're sitting down, they're having dinner, and they finish dinner and they're having drinks, and Joyce is kind of
In the mood.
well, not no, 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 before that. We're gonna
Oh,
back up.
oh,
We're
oh,
gonna
oh.
back up. We're not gonna hit the mood thing yet.
Oh, okay.
So Joyce is gently persuading Bob with alcohol. We're just gonna say that. So she
Mhm.
keeps like nudging him to have. Oh, here, have another drink, and here, why don't you have a drink with me? And we'll drink to my son, and blah blah blah. You remind me so much of him. Trying
Engaging conversation, basically.
trying to engage in conversation and get him to feel sorry for her in a way and sympathize.
Hmm.
So he'll drink more with her. So Joyce roofies poor Bob. And I legitly mean roofies him. She ends up before she had dinner with him, she went to the doctors, told the doctors that she was having trouble sleeping. They prescribed her sleeping medication that Joyce used to roofie Bob. She put it in his alcohol and gave it to him in a whiskey glass.
Yep.
And this is where it gets really weird.
Yeah. So somehow this lady Joyce is still strong enough to lift Bob all the way back to um the
The couch,
yeah,
near
the
the
couch
couch.
area. Yeah, near the couch. And yeah, this is where just the weird sensation of her basically like feeling mm, good of like like this is
She
nice.
feeling frisky.
Yeah.
She's like
And
she's like basically, not to cut you off, but she's
no,
like
that's fine.
basically like resting her head on his chest and unbuttons his shirt a little bit and like strokes his chest and stuff, and oh, this is nice, oh, you're so handsome, oh, I feel so safe with you, this and that and
Wrap your
everything else.
arms around me,
wrap
and she
wrap
would
your arms around me and never let
never
go,
let go. Yep.
never let go, never
Yeah.
let go. And it was Paul and I, we both gave each other the same look while we were watching this.
Like, oh
um
boy, poor
we were
Bob.
like we were like, oh god, poor Bob is getting
Some
uh
unwanted attention.
some unwanted attention against his own will, and
Oh yeah.
he has no idea.
Nope. So
None.
fast. Yeah. So fast forward. We finally, wake up and he's late for breakfast because Joyce makes it clear that there's no breakfast because he got up way too late, and that yeah, it just downhill from here, shall we say. And I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because there's really not too much interesting thing that really happens because now we get Sarah coming back. Sarah had dumped the asshole that she was with, come back because she was in the area for like a week or so and wanted to check on Joyce. However, though, she is also using her laptop to write down some stuff, which it seems like it's all about Joyce, which is interesting, as I may say.
Yeah, she's trying to write a story about her.
Yeah. And so, because of this, it made Sarah introduce herself to Bob, or Bob introducing himself to Sarah, vice versa, whatever way it went. However, though, it made Joyce um, not so happy, as I may say. She was hoping to introduce them herself. However, because they already introduced, you could just tell Joyce was just not happy, and it got worse, didn't it, babe?
Oh, it got so much worse. We're talking like some serious jealousy from Joyce's end, like to the point where she saw um, Sarah and Bob's hookup as a betrayal, like in her eyes. Like,
Yes.
you stole Bob from me. He was mine, you know.
Yeah, and that was the thing too, wasn't it? As well, which we'll go back to, or no, we don't have to really go back, but during that same day, I want to say, it was later in the evening where Sarah mentioned something that maybe she'll take Joyce out for like a dance or a dinner or something, and Joyce's
Girls'
response,
night out.
girls' night out, and basically Joyce's response was, "Well, Bob and I, we just settle in after 8 o'clock or something like that." So, but she used the term Bob and I, so that kind of I think sparked something with Sarah, what?
It's like, what is going on here? Why are you talking like that? Like you and Bob are in a relationship and
Everything else. Yeah. So that's just where it really gets all weird. So like Tessa was saying, after the hookup betrayal aspect, so this is where it becomes very more interesting. So Sarah gets basically banned from coming to the house. Sarah now has to send a letter to Bob, but the catch is the mailman has to have Bob retrieve it himself by signing in person. Because one thing we need to mention, because this is a very important,
it was verified mail.
right, but this is very important, is what? Every time something came for Bob, Bob's mail was basically opened up by Joyce because she felt because it was her house, she's allowed to open up other people's mail.
I should know what's going on in my own house.
Basically. So this is where she really starts to get angry now. Like with even with the mailman, like, well, he's not home and blah blah blah. But then Bob comes up behind her and like, I'm home. What is this? What are you like? And signs it and takes it, goes out back and reads it, comes back in, tell Joyce he is leaving. Oof.
Yeah, and proceeds to tell Joyce why he's leaving. Sarah wrote me, and she's pregnant with
Yep.
my baby.
Yeah.
And oh boy.
So I think long story short, let's just say long story short. Um, let's just say it was nice knowing you, Bob,
Yeah.
and well, Sarah, I don't know how she was able to really guilt trip you. I mean, I do know, but at the same time, it's just like, really? Anyway, so basically, near the end, so spoiler alert, but basically near the end, she finds out Bob isn't just some guy who just rides motorcycles around and somehow is able to pay his rent all the time. He is involved in what seems to be a drug war, if I may say, because in his little trunk that there's how did Joyce put it? Nose candy. So
Yeah, because that's what it said on the package. Nose candy.
yes, and so you guessed it, she just had to try it. And I know we're cutting a lot out here, but I mean, it's really just not too important, I would say, except for we kind of already said, like, if Joyce is going through other people's mail, you should already guess what else is going on. So anyway, long story short, Sarah comes back into the picture after Joyce basically says that, oh, he just got up and left, you know? Didn't really,
Oh, Bob's gone.
yeah. And not to mention, like, after Bob went bye bye, Joyce sold the motorcycle for cash and everything else. And so she really made sure, like, Bob's stuff, like, found a way of not being there. So anyway, now that she's pregnant, we learn that Joyce could not also have her child of her own as
Because
well.
her husband didn't want her to have a child.
No, she did not. Which we think is the reason why Joyce killed him.
Got
One
rid
of
of
the
her
reasons.
husband.
Yeah.
She got rid of him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, got rid of him. And we don't really know how. We just know that he gone. And so this gave Joyce the perfect opportunity to have Sarah come to her house, meaning Joyce's house, and while she basically went on a very long 9 month vacation, it seemed like. But the trick or the kicker was what, babe?
She was lulling Sarah into a false sense of security. Her plan was to leave Sarah the house while she was gone on vacation, wait 9 months for Sarah to have the baby, come back, kill Sarah, and raise Sarah's child as her own.
Yes. And we figured that out because right before the movie concludes, in the most awful way too, is that Sarah tries to open up what would have been Bob's room. Uh
Which
oh.
was the nursery.
Yeah, and it was locked. So she had no way to access that room. I mean, we don't really know if she ever did because, that's movies for you. But you could have probably have easily taken that door apart. But anyway, you probably wouldn't either since you're babysitting the house. So I, uh, I mean, there's so many ways Sarah could have gone about this, but let's just say she didn't. So that would, like Tessa said, she would eventually give birth, meet her demise, and that kid, which very interesting line in this movie is that Joyce's character says is, what if that baby doesn't have a mother or father growing up? And I think that's what sparked the idea of what she did. Like this, she knew right then and there that she would be the grandma finally being able to raise a kid of her own. Even though in the nursery there was clues that she was going to be known as a grandma.
Yes.
So I guess, babe, what did your final thoughts for Room for Rent? What did you think of this as a whole?
As a whole, I liked it because Lin Shaye's performance was great, even as a creepy, obsessively weird uh, older woman,
Yeah,
for lack of better wording.
yeah.
Um, she portrayed her character very, very well. It was very convincing.
Oh yeah. And I'll touch on that by saying, well, there is part that we left out here, but I think it's for the best because it really plays into well Joyce's character with Sarah, and that other poor lady. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh, the neighbor lady that
Yeah.
she offed.
Well, I was gonna try to not say that, but yeah. But
Well, I didn't say how.
exactly. But yeah, that poor lady.
Yes, unfortunate end.
Dun dun dun. Well, anyway, my final thought is it is kind of slow. However, Winshay does do an excellent job. It's a very interesting story. So if you weren't really following along as well, you might have to at least rewatch it a little bit to really fully grasp it, especially the ending, because the way it ended after her driving away for her vacation, you see Sarah go check on that locked door, which is the nursery room, waiting for 9 months to be claimed by grandma and the baby. It it kind of makes you have to rethink of like what that ending is supposed to mean. But then when you really think about it, especially that line I said, what if the baby didn't have a mother and father growing up? That basically should tell you, well, you already know what's about to happen.
Yeah. You should be able to put two and two together right there.
I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's an okay movie, I would say. It's got some really interesting parts. Do not rent from this lady. And if you ever rent for somebody who is fantasizing about over some romantic book, you need to get out. And if you are renting from somebody that's an older person and they're being way too nice and getting all dressed up and maked up for you, then yeah, you definitely need to get out.
Yeah. Yeah,
But on
you do not want to be in this location.
no, and on that note, that was it. Check it out for yourself. It's not that bad. I would say we enjoyed this more than the last movie that we talked about, but the last movie did have its ups and downs. They
Yeah, it had its highlights.
Yeah, just like this one. I mean, I don't. I can't really say too much that I was really let down on it like I was with the last one, but this one concept was very interesting. I just wish the ending, I guess, was just a little bit more better told than how they really faded to black.
Yes. So I feel like we've talked about this enough.
Yes.
So hope you guys enjoyed the listen. I was Tessa Baker.
And I was Paul Doski.
And we want you to
Stay
scary.
And don't rent from her.
Go stay in a hotel.